Welcome back, listeners, to another intriguing episode of Red Hunt, where I, Red, dive into the realm of relationship tales shared on Reddit, captivating you with stories that will leave you craving for more. So let's embark on this journey together, seeking heartfelt advice and a cathartic escape from the tumultuous world of modern romance. Am I the antagonist for telling my brother that our mom picked me to make medical choices for her in the event she can't? I am a 33-year-old man with two older brothers, Matt, 35, and Frank, 38. Our father passed away a few years ago, and shortly after, our mother was diagnosed with early-onset dementia. At that time, she was still capable of making competent choices for herself, but she began making plans for the future when she would no longer be able to do so. One of those plans involved assigning one of her sons to make decisions on her behalf when she becomes incapacitated. Since Frank lives across the country, my mom never really considered him for this responsibility. She spoke separately to both me and Matt, discussing her wishes in abstract terms. She had a significant life insurance policy from our father's passing and wanted to use it to hire an in-home aide. She strongly preferred staying in her own home and only considered a nursing home as a last resort. Her insurance policy would cover the costs, and she would also qualify for state assistance. I agreed with her plan and promised to do my best to make it happen. However, Matt was not on board with the idea. He believed that hiring an in-home aide would be a waste of money since our mom would eventually require round-the-clock care from multiple caregivers. Given our jobs and our own families, we would not be able to provide constant care, and our mom made it clear she did not want us to sacrifice our lives for her. Nonetheless, I still intended to visit her daily, even if only briefly. We also had disagreements about her wishes regarding life support and organ donation. Because Matt expressed his clear intention to disregard our mother's wishes, she ultimately chose me as the decision-maker. She did ask both Frank and me to keep this information from Matt. I agreed, although I mentioned that it might come out at some point. However, she insisted on him not knowing to avoid having ongoing arguments during the remaining time she had with her mental faculties intact. Fast forward 3 years and our mother's condition has gradually worsened. She currently has a part-time aide, but I know it won't be long before she requires full-time care. Matt is now trying to convince us to move her into an assisted living facility, constantly arguing with me on the matter. Eventually, I told him that the decision was not his to make. He claimed, "Mom isn't capable of deciding for herself." I replied, "I know, and that's why she entrusted me with this responsibility," while showing him copies of the legal documents. He became quiet and upset. Later, he went to our mom in tears, expressing how hurt he was. Despite our mom's declining health, she is still somewhat aware of the situation and clearly upset that he knows about the arrangement. Frank believes I should not have revealed the truth to Matt. However, I felt like I had no other choice as Matt would have continued arguing with me. So, am I the asshole? It sounds like you were trying your best to respect your mother's wishes and provide her with the care she desired. You even kept her request to keep it quiet until Matt's constant arguments made it necessary to show him the legal documents. It's understandable that Matt is hurt, but ultimately you were just following your mother's instructions. My husband won't let me have a pet because of his grandfather clause. How can we agree on this? I would like to begin by stating that we are happily married and do not have any other problems like the one I am about to discuss. A few years ago, my husband got a dog named Kira, about a month after we met. So Kira has been part of our relationship for almost its entirety. I really love dogs and enjoy having pets, even though she is not the breed I would have personally chosen. She is an absolute sweetheart, and we have a lot of fun with her. However, that is not the main issue. The problem is that my husband is not allowing me to have any pets of my own. When we first met, I had recently moved to his town for work. My plan had always been to get a pet as soon as possible, and I was finally in a situation where this was realistic. On the other hand, his plan was to get Kira and have puppies with her when she got older, and keep one of the puppies. He believes that because Kira arrived just after we met, and his plan was already in motion, he has a grandfather clause that overrides my lifelong dream of having my own pet. Essentially, he is stating that he beat me to it. Since he got a dog first, I am now not allowed to have one. He refuses to allow any more dogs in the house unless it is Kira and one of her puppies. My argument is that we both had a grandfather clause in place. My dream and plan were to have a pet as soon as possible. I do not believe it is fair for him to deny me this dream just because he wants to have 2 dogs of the same breed. He has been open to me getting a cat, but with specific restrictions on its gender, age, and color. He is also mildly allergic and prefers the cat to spend most of its time outdoors. Occasionally, I show him pictures of dogs I like, but he dismisses it and says that if he were to allow it, the dog would have to be a specific breed. I try to explain to him that we cannot solely live his life. We are residing in his town, originally intended to be temporary, but he cannot move elsewhere. In his house, I moved into the house he already owned, with his pet. I feel that he has to be willing to compromise and allow me to fulfill my dream as well. I have no issue with him having Kira or one of her puppies, but they are his dogs. He made all the choices regarding the breed, gender, color, training methods, activities and equipment, etc. I would like to have a say in the matter too. We live in a 300 SQM house with a fenced yard, so space is not a problem. Our finances are stable, so money is not a concern either. We have enough time to walk, train, and play with the dogs, so time should not be an issue either. We require some outside advice. Should I let go of my dream of having my own pet and accept that we can only have the pets he has chosen because Kira was here first? It sounds like your husband is being a bit unfair by denying you the opportunity to have your own pet. Just because he got a dog first doesn't mean you should be deprived of having one too. You deserve to have a choice and be able to fulfill your lifelong dream of having your own pet. It's important for him to compromise and understand that both of your dreams matter in this situation. Am I the antagonist for explaining to a little girl why my son looks weird to her? I am 30 years old, my husband is 28, and we have a 9-year-old son. Both my husband and I come from mixed-race backgrounds. My mother is a brown South Asian woman, while my father is a white Eastern European man. My husband comes from a Central American family with interracial parents spanning centuries. Our son has distinct ethnic features, but he is much lighter in complexion compared to both his father and me. From a distance, he may appear white passing. This is not surprising since 2 of his grandparents also have white skin. A few days ago, while grocery shopping, we ran into my son's classmate, her younger sister, and their parents. We engaged in small talk with the parents while the kids chatted. The younger sister made a comment that my son looks weird. Both her parents seemed horrified, but my husband and I were not offended. She is about 6 years old and children often lack filters. Additionally, we live in a predominantly white European country. I could tell that her remarks stemmed from curiosity rather than ill intent. I then responded to the little girl, saying something like, "Think about your grandparents. They all have a similar appearance, right? Well, my son's grandparents all look very different. That means my son has 4 very distinct faces that make up his own." She appeared a bit confused, and I must admit I am not very good at speaking to kids, but she seemed genuinely interested and thanked me. However, the girl's mother did not appreciate my intervention. She told me that it was highly rude of me to discuss such matters with someone else's child, and that I should have allowed them to handle it on their own terms. I apologized and explained that I did not mean to interfere with their parenting, but I sensed the girl's genuine curiosity. The mother repeated that it should be a conversation for the child's parents to have, and that I should not have gotten involved. I then posed the question, if it were solely up to you, when would you have this conversation with your child? Because mixed race and non-white people exist, even when you might not think your child is ready to learn about them. My response seemed to anger her, but her partner urged her to drop it. We said our goodbyes and continued with our day. According to my son, his classmate has since been acting very cautious around him. He feels as if she holds a personal grudge against him, even though the incident at the store is likely the cause. I am saddened by the fact that this seems to have caused issues in the classroom and is distressing my son. I would like to know if I am at fault here, so I can take appropriate action to address the situation. Hey, Ope, I don't think you're in the wrong at all. You handled the situation gracefully and respectfully. Kids are naturally curious, and you did a great job explaining things to that little girl. It's a shame that her mom seems to be overreacting. Hopefully, the tension in the classroom subsides soon. How do I stop being condescending to my husband when I genuinely think he's stupid? My husband and I met in high school and continued our relationship while attending different colleges. Until a year ago, our relationship was going really well. However, at the beginning of 2023, I discovered that he was having an affair. I never thought he would cheat. He pleaded with me for another chance. Everyone encouraged reconciliation because he showed remorse and confessed before I confronted him. He explained that he and his affair partner bonded over their shared love for philosophy and intellectual pursuits. I can't help but feel that he is genuinely unintelligent. They justified their affair with a book called The Alchemist, which I consider to be shallow and pseudo-philosophy. Previously, I never thought of him as unintelligent, but now, when I compare him to others, I find him lacking. I graduated debt-free from an Ivy League university with a physics degree. I was accepted into a top graduate school and pursued a high-paying career where I utilize my intelligence. He considers himself smart, despite barely passing college and working as a mid-level marketing manager, earning significantly less than me. We used to enjoy watching movies together. However, now when he doesn't understand plot points, fails to connect the dots, or misses foreshadowing, I become frustrated. I perceive him as stupid. He lacks understanding and doesn't realize how little he knows. While I acknowledge my own limitations, he misinterprets it as me being less knowledgeable than him. He fails to understand that watching Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't make him an expert in quantum physics, or that watching a YouTube video doesn't make him an expert in any field. He struggles with basic tasks and makes foolish decisions. I find myself deeply disappointed and disgusted with him. As advised by our marriage counselor, we attempted intellectual discussions. But he struggles to grasp concepts, and I feel like I am married to someone unintelligent. I wasn't always like this, and I don't feel this way towards others. I mentor juniors at my workplace without these negative emotions. It's only him and his affair partner who I find genuinely stupid. What frustrates me about my husband is that he is unaware of his own ignorance. Intelligence is measured by one's capacity to learn. There are countless intelligent individuals who lack degrees, high-paying jobs, or prestige. I believe everyone possesses their own talents except my husband now. When I look at him, all I see is an inflated ego. He genuinely believes he understands science as well as scientists, despite never having read research papers. He even believes he could lead troops into battle like a general, despite lacking any experience. He would argue with an expert crocheter about their technique, despite knowing nothing about crocheting except for what he saw on a YouTube video. He thinks he is intelligent when, in reality, he is not. He is ignorant of his own lack of knowledge. I don't know if this is a recent change or if I am just realizing it now. He notices that I am annoyed with him and claims to already feel low. I recognize that my condescension towards him stems from my insecurity about his affair. He is making an effort to make amends, but I still find him stupid and irritating. How can I stop being condescending towards him and remember that he possesses his own intellectual qualities? Can I go back to appreciating his strengths? It sounds like you're really frustrated and disappointed with your husband's behavior and the affair. It's understandable that you would feel hurt by his actions, but it might be helpful to remember that intelligence and knowledge come in different forms. Instead of focusing on comparing your intelligence to his, try to communicate your feelings and concerns with him in a non-condescending way. It's important to address the core issues in your relationship and work towards rebuilding trust instead of getting caught up in who is smarter. Am I the antagonist for telling my daughter she sabotaged herself? My ex-wife and I have 3 children together. We have 2 sons who are 15 and 13, and a daughter who is now 18. After our separation, we agreed on a 50-50 custody arrangement and have stuck to it. However, my daughter and I haven't spoken since last summer due to an argument we had about college. I have college funds set up for all 3 of my kids, and we had an agreement that they would receive it after graduating high school as long as they attended a state university. I believe this would set them up for success, as employers tend to take degrees from legitimate 4-year colleges more seriously. Last spring, my daughter and I argued about this. While filling out financial forms for college, she asked for my tax returns. During the process, I noticed that she put down a local community college. When I pointed it out, she told me that her mother encouraged her to do so because the tuition fees were waived for first-time college students. I expressed my disagreement with this decision, stating that she shouldn't ask me for my information if she was going to go against what I have made clear. She claimed she misunderstood and just thought I didn't want to pay, but I reminded her that I had been clear about my expectations. I accused her of being sneaky and choosing an easy way out. Eventually, I stormed out, assuming the argument would blow over the next day as usual. However, a few days later, she informed me that she submitted the forms with only her mother's financial information after reaching out to the financial aid company. Her request got approved, but the process took a long time and she missed the enrollment deadline for most universities. As a result, she had to get a job instead of starting college last semester. She blamed me for not helping her and decided to move in with her mother full-time after turning 18 and starting college this semester. I responded by telling her that her decision was ridiculous and that she had sabotaged herself. I believed that if she had followed my advice and enrolled in a real college, she could have completed the paperwork without any issues. She expressed her hatred towards me and became cold and distant until she permanently moved out. This happened during the spring and summer of last year, and my daughter hasn't spoken to me since. I had mostly forgotten about it until my youngest son mentioned this morning that he misses her presence when they stay at my house. He also expressed his wish for me not to have been so harsh. In hindsight, I might have been too harsh. Am I the asshole here? It sounds like you had a clear agreement with your kids about the college funds, and your daughter went against it. You were just trying to set her up for success and she took it as you not supporting her. It's understandable that you might have been a bit harsh in the heat of the argument, but it doesn't make you the asshole. Am I the antagonist for telling my best friend that she overshadowed my wedding? I am married to Nate, and his sister is Denise. We are all childhood friends and I married Nate almost a year ago. Denise, at the time, was 7 months pregnant with her first child. Her husband is Wayne. Not too long after our reception started, Denise went into preterm labor. Her pregnancy up until that point was not high risk, so this was completely unexpected and shocked all of us. She understandably had to leave with Wayne to the hospital, and most of their side of the family left out of concern. She insisted we stay and have fun, and Nate and I tried, but knowing that she was in unexpected high-risk labor was on our minds, and we made the difficult decision to end the reception about an hour and a half early and join them at the hospital. My nephew Ben was born that night and we were all excited, but I'll admit Nate, and I felt a bit bothered that our wedding day was kind of overshadowed by this event. We kept this to ourselves though, as this was obviously unplanned, and it's unfair to blame Denise and Wayne for it. But from that point on, nobody ever talked about our marriage, just baby Ben. The few times a relative mentioned our wedding can be counted on one hand. I understand that new additions to the family are ultimately more important, but my wedding day will never just be about my wedding. It'll always be about Ben, and whenever he comes up or I see him, I feel bitter because I'm reminded of what happened at the wedding. Yes, I know I'm jealous of a baby. I feel terrible for it. Nate was like this too for a while, but he grew out of it. I'm still working on it. Ben is turning 1 in 2 weeks and that's all everyone's talking about. Not a word about our anniversary. I already know I'll just be depressed and sad the whole time, so I asked if Nate could politely tell them I would not be there. He did, and Denise was pretty upset and demanded to know why. He refused, so she confronted me via text. She told me that she's noticed I seem sad whenever Ben is mentioned and said I'm hurting her by not telling her why. I decided to be honest and tell her that I had been feeling very depressed, not just about this issue, but it's contributing, and that I felt that my wedding was overshadowed by her unexpected labor. I did tell her I'm not angry at anyone because it was unplanned. I just need to not be reminded of it on my anniversary. She did not respond and just blocked me, but Wayne uninvited Nate and told him to keep us far away from his family. Nate is confused and I feel awful. Am I the asshole here? It's understandable that you would feel a little bit resentful that your wedding day got overshadowed by the unexpected labor, but it's also important to remember that it wasn't anyone's fault. You were honest with Denise about your feelings and didn't place blame on anyone, so her reaction seems a bit extreme. Hopefully with some time and communication, you can work things out with her and Wayne. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.